Aloha, fellow explorers. Today I'm going to be answering your questions about Hawaii. Osiguro, myself, and the traveling princess just came back from a week in Oahu, Hawaii. We've released a couple videos about it so far, and lots of you have said, Chris, can you do a live stream so we can ask you some questions real time about the trip? And so that's what this video is. So if you're on the live stream, I look forward to hanging out with you, answering your questions about what Hawaii is like right now. Also, I'm happy to answer general Hawaii questions. The first question from the live chat, UAL Kingpin, says, where was that background photo taken? And so that we're all on the same page about that background photo, this is the background photo. And this photo was taken at the Makapu'u Lighthouse Trail hike. My apologies if the Hawaiian pronunciation on that is not the most perfect, but this lighthouse trail is in the southeast corner of the island, kind of near the Sea Life Park. That's actually right down there below. Amazing views on this trail. This is the second most popular hiking trail in all of Oahu. Diamond Head is #1. We did both of those hikes on this trip. But I think the views are pretty good of Waikiki. These are different views because you get to see that Jurassic part of the island right there. All right, so let's go ahead and see what other questions we have in the live chat. Zachary says, Chris, I love the Hawaiian shirt. Are those in your Etsy shop? This Hawaiian shirt I got off of Amazon when I was searching for yellow Hawaiian shirts. I should find some yellow Aloha gear to put in my Etsy shop. Thank you for that. Jeremy asks, who is my favorite Hawaii music artist? I don't know that I listen to enough Hawaii music to have a particular favorite. I think, one of my classic just ukulele songs is definitely Tiny Tim, Tiptoe Through the Tulips, and I just think it's Hawaiian because it's played with the ukulele. Yeah, Zachary wants to know, how do I pronounce the name of the Hawaiian state fish? I don't do that well. I do it as like the huma huma numa numa una muna pua, which I'm sure is not how it's actually pronounced, but it is a really long state fish. Jonathan says, I'll be in Oahu for 4 days and Maui for 4 days. Would love to know what you think about the Royal Hawaiian. I love your hotel reviews, but haven't seen it reviewed. Have you stayed there? I have not stayed at the Royal Hawaiian. The Royal Hawaiian is in Waikiki. It's this pink hotel, and it's kind of in between the Sheraton and the Moana Surfrider. I've been through it. I've got pictures in it. I go through there all the time, but I've never stayed there, so I can't comment on the rooms. But I will say that it's kind of nice because it's like, it feels like its own little resort away from the rest of Waikiki. So if you're looking to stay in the middle of it all, but not really feel like you're in the middle of it all when you're in the hotel, I think that's a pretty good place. If there is anybody else on the live chat that has stayed at the Royal Hawaiian, let me know what you all think about it, and we can help a fellow traveler know. Honestly, Bridget wants to know sunrise or sunset for the volcano in Maui. I'm more of a sunset person because I'm not really a 4 a.m. person, and more people get up there at sunrise, so I would say sunset. That would be my thing. Kel says, I took pictures of the Ritz-Carlton. Did you happen to do a tour there? And I know Kel said I could have taken a tour, but Kel, I did not see your message until we were already on our way out, so no, we did not tour the Ritz-Carlton. Joanne says, what are the places on Oahu that people miss, the hidden gems? That's a great question. And I've got a few videos that I shot on this tour about some of the hidden gems. Maybe let me pull a picture up of one of them, and we'll see how quickly I can pull this one up. All right, let's take a look at this, and we'll go right here. One that I think is really neat is the Byodo Inn Temple. This one is on the east side of Oahu, and it's a recreation of a Japanese temple near Kyoto. It's not a functioning temple in Hawaii, but it's the most Japanese looking temple you're going to see outside of Japan, so this is a pretty cool place to see. Also, if you're coming over to this side of the island, island. I really like the Pali Lookout, which is a neat lookout on the like the highway that takes you from the west to east coast side. Now, a question that nobody's asked yet, but I want to go ahead and answer it because I'm sure people are going to ask about food and say, Chris, what did you eat there? So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the food items, like new things that we ate this time. And we'll push this button so you can see. Our first meal, of course, was at our classic Zippies. You can't go wrong with Zippies, but everything was takeout, so we ate that in our car. By the way, a sign you know you're at a good Hawaiian restaurant is when they use Aloha soy sauce. Aloha is like the Hawaiian brand soy sauce made in Hawaii. If you get Kikkoman, you know something's wrong. So definitely look for good places that use the Aloha soy sauce. Zippies there, and this Zippies is actually really close to Waikiki. So if you're staying in Waikiki, you can find Zippies for some pretty good plate lunches. Classic plate lunches near Hawaii. We had our first dessert at this place called Ice Monster, and it's in Waikiki. Ice Monster is originally from Taiwan, and I think this branch of it is via Japan, but they sell Taiwanese-style shave ice. Different than Hawaiian shave ice because the ice itself is flavored and they don't put syrups on it. This one was their mango shave ice. Now, we always like to go to the Ala Moana shopping mall. We love to eat at Yummy Korean Barbecue. Yummy Korean Barbecue is kind of like the Panda Express for Korean food. By the way, it's right next to a Panda Express in the Ala Moana Shopping Center. And if you've ever wondered what's the most profitable Panda Express location in the world, it is this one right here at the Ala Moana Food Court. But at Yummy Korean Barbecue, you pick some of the sides from their table, kimchi, japchae, the noodles, and then you get some meats. I like the kalbi, and OC Girl like the meat jun, which is some beef that basically has like egg around it. Over there on the left, you see some kimchi, kind of like a Korean cold omelet thing there in the upper left. Now, we saw this place after we ate called Singmate Curry Laksa. And one of you fellow explorers mentioned it on my Instagram or something like that and said, Chris, you got to try this out. And so we actually came back to try this out another day, which you'll see a picture of that later. Every morning we had breakfast at the Hyatt in Waikiki. As a globalist, we got free breakfast at their breakfast buffet. Every day they had a different Eggs Benedict. And so this was the Eggs Benedict on our first day. Super delicious. I love Eggs Benedict. And for the traveling princess, one of the days in the car, we stopped by McDonald's. We got her a Happy Meal, and we got us some poke from Foodland. If you're looking for poke, Foodland is a solid spot for poke. Anywhere in Hawaii. Now, Giovanni's is a favorite of ours. They are famous for their garlic shrimp truck on the north shore of Hawaii, but they've recently opened a location in Kaka'ako in an H-Mart Korean supermarket. Their food hall on the second floor. And we've got, you can see 2 plates of the garlic shrimp there in the back, and then 1 plate of the garlic hot dog for our traveling princess. I think she liked the garlic rice better than the garlic hot dog. Now, every morning at the buffet, in addition to the Eggs Benedict, we really love the papaya. We love papaya when we go to Oahu. And to get some just quick eats before lunch or after lunch or whatever. Actually, we had this as a snack one day, and then we picked up food here on our way back to the airport, is Musubi Cafe. They've got a few locations in Waikiki, but they have regular musubi, which is basically rice and grilled Spam rolled with seaweed around it. But they have other more fancy ones. Like you can see there's some that have egg and some that have avocado. I like the musubi that has rice, Spam, egg, avocado, and bacon. That's my musubi of choice. So if you're looking for something to eat on your flight home, pick up something from Musubi Cafe. I thought it was hilarious that they had a sign to tell you, please do not poke the musubis. Everybody clearly wants to poke them. Probably our favorite meal that we ate on this trip, and we actually ate there twice, is at Tonkatsu Ginza Byron in Waikiki. This is a Japanese katsu restaurant that originally is from Japan with a branch in Waikiki. This is the katsudon, which is the pork cutlet breaded in a bowl of rice and onions. And then OC Girl had the katsu set, which basically kind of had that all separate. A review video about this place coming out. We liked it so much we ate there twice on this trip. Now, Cal asked if we went to the Ritz-Carlton. We ate at the Dean and DeLuca, which is kind of like a upscale grocery store that we had this passion fruit. This was a passion fruit cheesecake, which is pretty good. So if you're looking for some interesting kind of Hawaiian-inspired cheesecakes, check out Dean and DeLuca in the bottom floor of the Ritz-Carlton residences. We went back to Ala Moana Shopping Mall to have the curry laksa. I love laksa. It's a classic Singaporean feast. And because everything is sort of to go right now because of the pandemic, we got that separate. We got the curry soup. That's how they do it. They give you the soup in one, and they give you the noodles and the things in another one, and then you pour the soup into where it's got the noodles. But it was good. Not as good as the laksa that we had in Singapore, though. But it was good. I appreciate the recommendation. Then we had some upscale poke in Kaka'ako, back where that Giovanni, as I talked about earlier. Foodland has opened this upscale poke bar called Red Fish, and they've got these signature poke bowls. This is the Kanakatak that has poke. So in the lower left-hand corner, you can see the tuna. Then it's got like a salmon, and then it's got Kalua pig there in the upper right with kind of like a Hawaiian salsa. And then Osiguro got the poke chirashi bowl style, which was more like a Japanese style, how you'd get sort of cut up raw fish. It was pretty good. We would definitely do that again. That's what it looks like, Red Fish Poke Bar by Foodland. Shave ice. We had a lot of shave ice on the trip. This one is the shave ice right next to the Rainbow Drive-In near Waikiki, and that's a blurry picture, but at the Rainbow Drive-In we had some plate lunches. This is the Loco Moco from the Rainbow Drive-In. If you ask me where the best poke in Oahu is, I would tell you it's at Ono Seafood. They've got a location in Honolulu near Waikiki, but it's always busy. There's long lines. There's no place to sit. When we went to take that thumbnail picture at the Makapu'u Lighthouse, we stopped by this branch of Ono Seafood, which is over there in Hawaii Kai. Another hidden gem. Not a lot of tourists know about this. It's takeout only, but as you can see up at the top, you get a few different choices of styles. You get a size of poke bowl. Mine was on the right. OC Girls was on the left. I've got the tuna and the salmon. OC Girl had a couple different, like the Hawaiian style and a shoyu style. But this place has some of the freshest fish, big chunks of fish, really quite good. Then we were on our way to hike Coco Head, or at least start the Coco Head hike, and then we saw the Leonard's Malasada truck. We drove by Leonard's, which is a classic bakery in Oahu for malasadas, and the lines were long. Every time we went by, the lines were long. The lines were longer on this trip than we've seen at any other trip in Oahu, and so when we saw the truck had no line, and we're like, well, maybe we'll just eat malasadas instead of go hike Coco Head because we were sort of running out of time. It was either or, and so I think we made the right decision to eat malasadas. I hope you do too. Malasadas, they're like a Portuguese donut, but they also have these malasada puffs where you can get them with a custard filling or a coconut filling. There's the truck, and it always comes in this pink box of deliciousness. They're really good. We went back to that Tonkatsu Ginza Byron I mentioned a second day. We also had shave ice from this place called Wyola Store, also near Waikiki, because that's where we're staying. We did a lot of stuff around there. It's in this like really, really Hawaiian local looking blue building, but the shave ice from this place was really good as well. For dinner back at Ala Moana, we ate at their location of Liliha Bakery, which is a classic bakery in Oahu, and they have a location in the third floor of Macy's at the Ala Moana Shopping Center. I had the prime rib with fried rice and macaroni salad and lobster bisque. This is Hawaii, the only place you can get prime rib with macaroni salad and fried rice. But they're more famous for their oxtail soup, which is what OC Girl got. So that's big chunks of oxtail meat. Simon noodles, which are kind of like a Hawaiian-style instant noodle. Some ginger, and then also some fried rice on the side. For dessert on our last night, we stopped at Magnolia Ice Cream, and they specialize in halo halo, which is like a Filipino dessert that's like a ube ice cream. So that was pretty good. They have a branch in Waikiki in the International Marketplace, the new shopping mall that's in there. So that was a long answer to the short question of Chris, do you have any recommendations for things that are off the beaten path? But those are my recommendations for food things that are off the beaten path that haven't really made it into my big food videos. All right, now we'll go back to live questions. Cal asked if we did the Dole Plantation tour. On this trip, we did not do the Dole Plantation tour. We have been to the Dole Plantation before, but not this one. Julie asks, Chris, what do you think about staying at the Hyatt Regency? The next video that comes out will be my full review of the Hyatt Regency, which will be this Friday, maybe Thursday, because I've been uploading my Friday videos on Thursday now. Well, Thursday, LA time, is Friday for some people. Short answer is we really enjoyed it. It's the best breakfast buffet that we've had of any hotel in Waikiki. However, because it's not oceanfront and it's like right by the road, we heard like a lot of road noise from our room. And, whereas like if you stayed at the Royal Hawaiian, the Westin Surfrider, or the Sheraton, and you had like an oceanfront room, you wouldn't get that same road noise. Would we stay there again? We would. Is it as amazing as like Hyatt's in Japan? It's not. It's a good, solid hotel. I think for us and for our needs, they give you like free cribs and these sorts of things. But it's a 1970s hotel that I feel was grand in the 70s and isn't so much grand anymore. Where if you go to the Westin Moana Surfrider or the Royal Hawaiian, those two hotels still feel grand because maybe they're like so classic because they're like early 1900s classic and they've kept them up well. They still keep that vibe today. The reason why I think you might want to consider the Hyatt Regency and why we consider the Hyatt Regency and actually why we stayed there is the Hyatt Regency has some of the biggest rooms in all of Waikiki. Their standard rooms are quite big. When you see the video review on Friday, you'll see what I mean, and that'll probably help you make your decision. Tree says, you're making me hungry, Chris, but the thing is, I just ate. Well, it's good that you just ate. Oh, maybe you want to eat again now. Michael Yip said, have you considered picking up some of the grab-and-go food from the ABC stores? Absolutely, and we do on occasion. Actually, I'll tell you, for our outbound flight, in addition to the food from the Musubi Cafe, I also picked up a sandwich from the ABC stores. And if we're ever in a hotel that we don't get free breakfast, then we typically pick up our breakfasts as the grab and go from the ABC stores. Cal asked, what airport did you leave from? Was first class available and how much? We flew out of John Wayne Orange County Airport near Disneyland in California to Honolulu. Our tickets were around $250 a person. We booked the tickets for that. It's a new flight that United just launched, and we booked the tickets the day United launched the flight. The going rate for those flights out of Orange County now seems to be about $500, but there are regular fares to Hawaii, to Kauai, things like that for $250 round trip that I'm seeing regularly on other airlines, other dates, other places. First class seemed expensive, actually, because I think they just, there's not that many first class seats. So my recollection was the first class tickets were more like $7,000-8,000 on that flight. Adventure with Troy asks if we island hop. We generally don't island hop. It takes so much time and energy just to hop an island, to return the rental car, go back to the airport, do this, do that. And we have direct flights from Los Angeles to all of the islands. So for us, we just like to go and spend a week and spend it on a single island. We generally don't like to island hop because the flights are cheap enough just to go for another trip. Sarah asked, what are the cheapest parking spots you found around Waikiki? When I go to Waikiki, I generally stay in a hotel, so I don't have a great tip for you on that one because I'm just staying at whatever the hotel parking is. If any fellow explorers have suggestions on cheap parking, definitely put in the chat. Some other times that I've gone down there, I've maybe parked at the duty-free store or I've parked at the Royal Hawaiian Center and they've validated parking. Another option for you could be to park when the Waikiki trolley is running, which is like the Japanese double-decker bus that goes from Ala Moana into Waikiki. You could park at the Ala Moana Center and take the Waikiki trolley for like $1 or $2 into Waikiki. Jordan wants to know if helicopter tours are fairly reasonable. Any company you would recommend? I am a risk-averse person when it comes to that, so we generally keep our feet on the ground instead of in a helicopter. The Great Cornholio asks which Disney hotel I would recommend. In Hawaii, there's only one, which is the Disney Aulani Hotel. I haven't personally stayed in the hotel. I've walked around the property. It looks super nice. If you mean a Disneyland, I'd recommend the Grand Californian because that's closest to Disneyland. Kathy says she's going to miss Hawaii in October. She had to cancel again. I'm sorry to hear that, Kathy. Is it because you don't think Australia is going to be open again? Like by that time? Like why'd you cancel? Cal asked if the buses were running. The city buses are currently running. The city buses. But all the Japanese tour buses were not. The Waikiki Trolley was not. The Oli Oli bus was not. So none of the tourist buses were running, just the standard city buses. Jordan wants to know if it's generally safe at downtown at night for my family and I in Honolulu. Depends what you mean by downtown. I don't know if you mean by Chinatown and things like that. There are some not so safe parts of Oahu, and I would even say right now, even Waikiki is kind of weird late at night. So yeah. I'd have to know what part of downtown Honolulu to really help that. Pogo says, download the Park Wiz app for free cheap parking. You can reserve parking cheap. Thanks for the tip. Richard asks if I've ever been to the Rock Ahula. I think that's the one at the Hilton Hawaiian Village right before the fireworks. If that's the one you mean, then yes, I have been there. I enjoyed the show. It was like $29, something like that, and you get great seats for the fireworks. So I enjoyed it. Nightwolf Villa asks, what's our next trip? Our next international trip is going to be to Vancouver in Canada. Part of our travel strategy is this year I made Globalist with Hyatt, which is Hyatt's top tier status. You get a whole bunch of perks when you stay there. And so we're picking our destinations at this point where there are Hyatt hotels so we can enjoy that Globalist status. Downtown Vancouver has a nice Hyatt hotel that, because it's sort of pandemic time, usually has kind of expensive rates, and now they're $150 a night instead of $300. So that's our next destination. Julie wants to know if I think they can get around without renting a car. Is it very crowded now in Waikiki? It's crowded, but not crowded. That's a weird answer that I'm going to give, but I'll say that things that are not usually crowded are more crowded. Restaurants are currently at half capacity, and so the restaurants are really busy. We heard people waiting at the Duke's restaurant at the Outrigger for over 3 hours for a table. We had to make reservations to eat at the katsu place that we ate at, and when we were eating there, we saw people coming in the same day, and they would say, "Sorry, we don't have any tables at all today." If you get out of Waikiki, then it's not as much of an issue. We rented a car, and I would always recommend a rental car when you go to Oahu. If you can't afford it for the whole time that you're there, then get it for a day or two. There's rental car companies in Waikiki. The Hyatt has a Hertz location, so you could consider doing that. I always recommend a rental car if you really want to explore the island. If all you want to do is stay in Waikiki, then you don't need a rental car. And Kathy says the government will not let us travel internationally out of Australia until mid-2021. Well, I hope that comes sooner rather than later. Furhan wants to know, what is my favorite color? Furhan, that does not even deserve an answer because you have to know the answer to that question. Kel asks if I saw Just Be Out YouTubers and also Photo Luke. I did not see them. Hawaii is a big place, so I'm sure we didn't run into each other. And honestly, Bridget says that Kathy meant to say 2022 as when they'll be able to travel out of Australia. Bring and Ruckus asks if I recommend the Polynesian Cultural Center. I wholeheartedly recommend the Polynesian Cultural Center. I know it gets a lot of mixed reviews from people, but I think it's fantastic. In particular, I recommend the nighttime show at the Polynesian Cultural Center. If you go to the Polynesian Cultural Center, see the nighttime show. Don't go to the Polynesian Cultural Center and skip the nighttime show. It's all about the nighttime show. When people ask me about, Chris, should I do a luau? What's the best luau? I say skip the luau and see the nighttime show at the Polynesian Cultural Center. Fire dancing, Tahitian dancing, the best production in all of Hawaii. The theme park itself is interesting, but the nighttime show is really where it's at. Juliet asked if the lady who makes flower leis in Waikiki was there this time. I'm not sure which lady you mean, Juliet, so I don't know that I'd be able to answer that. I will say at the airport, the lei stands at the airport were open, which they weren't, for a while during the pandemic. Sarah wants to know if we were able to get our car rental at the typical price ahead of time, or we were a victim of the crazy high car rental shortage prices too. We booked our rental car for 6 days from Hertz for about $450. So I mean that's more than it used to cost. It would probably cost like $200 for 6 days. But I would consider that to be reasonable. Honestly, Bridget asked if I get a lot of comps offered because of your following. Yes and no. People will offer me comps. Like, actually, when I was in Hawaii, I got some Instagram messages from shops and restaurants. They're like, hey, Chris, you're in Hawaii. You should come visit my place. We generally don't take them up on it because we want to go to the places that we want to go as opposed to the places that just want to give us free stuff. And then as a practice, we never let places know ahead of time that we're coming to be like, hey, I'm coming, can I get free stuff? So I will say that sometimes we'll go places and they'll recognize what we're doing or shooting a video, and then afterwards they might be like, oh, it's because you're shooting a video and you're going to post it, then it's on us. That happens less frequently. That's like once or twice a year or something like that. So that is not frequent. Though I did feel some people said like, Chris, are you going to have like a fan meetup while you're in Hawaii? I felt like every day I had a fan meetup because every day there were like 3 to 5 people or groups that would recognize us wherever we were. So that was neat. Faith says, as of this week, hotels are at 95% occupancy and will be for the next 30 days. I do believe restaurants will be at 100% this week. Thank you for the tip, Faith, on that one. And I would say, the 95% occupancy, I think it really depends on the hotel, frankly, because the higher Regency that we stayed at was definitely not super full. I think the smaller hotels or the more touristy hotels or the known hotels will be busier, but then I think the hotels that cater more to the business travelers that go to Hawaii won't be quite as busy. Darian recommends a rental car, so check out Turo. It's like the Airbnb for cars. So that's a tip if you can't get a rental car because they're too expensive. Cal asks, how many businesses closed early? Who closed permanently? On the Waikiki main shopping street, lots of businesses were closing early, and we ended up we wanted to go to the Mitsuwa Japanese supermarket that's in the International Marketplace, which usually closed at 8, but it closed at 7. That's where we were going to get dessert, so we ended up at the Magnolia ice cream store instead. I would say we weren't victims of that a lot, but there were a lot of places that were closing early, but we noticed that just in the week that we were there, a lot of stores were shifting to be back to their regular hours. So in the Ritz-Carlton, I mentioned the Dean and DeLuca there. While we were there, for the first half of the trip, they closed at 3 p.m. every day, but then they had a sign that said the following week they were going to be resuming their regular hours, closing at 9 or 10. So I think that I would say most 90% of stores or shops in Waikiki were closing early and closed permanently. A lot of them have closed permanently too. I don't have a running list of all the ones that closed permanently. Okay, I'm thirsty. What am I drinking today? I saw a question. I don't remember who asked it. Somebody always says, today, just for this live stream, I am drinking this Brew Doctor Pineapple Guava Kombucha. I figured it was island themed. This has passion fruit and green tea in it. And I wanted to do this and pour it so that you can see it fizzes, right? Like kombucha is generally fizzy tea. After I went for my hike this morning, I stopped at Whole Foods to look for what I thought was the most island-like thing, and they don't have the typical island sodas. But this, on the other hand, they say it's a tropical delight. This recipe of ripe pineapple, sweet guava, tart passion fruit, and subtle green tea makes a bright but delicious kombucha. It's our best effort at bottling a combination of blue skies, sunshine, and a warm breeze. Let me tell you if this tastes like blue skies, sunshine, and a warm breeze. It's quite pleasant. I like it. I would get this one again. Kombuchas are kind of hit or miss. Sometimes you drink them and they're gross, and you'd be like, I never want another sip of this thing again. But this one's actually pretty good. It's got a lot of fizz on it. All right, let's set that back here. Lean into Life the English Way says, when will I be putting out my video about tips for traveling with toddlers? That'll be in 3 weeks. So coming out this Friday is going to be my review of the Hyatt Regency Waikiki. Then I'm going to put out my review of Tonkatsu Ginza Byron. And then I'm going to put out my video about tips for traveling with toddlers. Jeremy asked if I have any recommendations for surf schools or lessons. I've never taken any of the surf schools or lessons in Waikiki, so unfortunately I can't give you tips on which are the best ones. Lizzie asks if we've ever toured the Iolani Palace or Bishop's Museum. OC Girl has. She really enjoyed it. I didn't get in to do it, but she gives the Iolani Palace high remarks. Kel wants to know if I went to Rockies at the Hilton Hawaiian Village. I have not been to Rockies. Should I? What is Rockies all about? Grant says, what's considered a good price for a flight to Hawaii and when's the best time to go? You know, best is subjective, certainly. I'll answer the price first, then I'll hit the time to go. I mean, in normal times, I would consider from the west coast of the U.S., $400 round trip to Hawaii to be a good fare. Currently, we're seeing fares like $200 round trip to Hawaii. We're seeing like unheard of fares ever. So those are like amazing fares. But $400 round trip from the west coast is a good price. Hawaii has like 2 seasons. It has the dry season and the wet season, which essentially equates to Northern Hemisphere summer and Northern Hemisphere winter. Works out to be the dry season, you know, is sort of the April, May, June, July, August, September timeframe, and then the wet season is October, November, December, January, February, March. Now, if you want to go when there's less people, I think the best time to go is like again, we're not talking like pandemic time. This year is going to be weird, but in normal years, I really like the time after Thanksgiving, before Christmas. And the reason why is that all of the East Coast snowbirds on the eastern seaboard of the U.S. and in Canada, it hasn't gotten super cold and super freezing for them, so they're not like, I need to go someplace warm. And so there's kind of like less people there between Thanksgiving and Christmas. Right around Christmas into January, then it starts to get busy and expensive again. But I find that you know, end of November, first couple weeks of December to be some of the best times to go for low crowds and good rates on things. And Travelverse says, we did the Makapu'u Lighthouse Trail carrying a baby. Wow, was just in the same place we go, for sure. And I will tell you, on the hiking trail, I did run into one other dad that had their baby in a backpack like we did, and we connected for a moment. We kind of like in the same club. The Traveling Princess pretty much slept the whole way up, and then she was awake for the way down. But it was all good. Diamond Head, she slept a lot of the hike, too. Her favorite place to sleep is on Papa's back. Michael Yip asked if we hit up Marugame Udon on this trip. We did not, because the lines were ridiculous. The lines were like down the block every day for Marugame Udon. And we have one here in Orange County at South Coast Plaza, like 10 miles from our house, so there's no reason for us to waste our time standing in line. Kel asks how the Traveling Princess enjoyed the flights. Did we have a seat for her? Yes, we bought 3 seats, one for me, one for OC Girl, and one for the Traveling Princess. I think she didn't really enjoy the takeoff and the landing so much, but well, at least for the first flight, she didn't enjoy the takeoff and the landing because we tried to strap her into her seat. And then we sort of figured out that because she's under 2 years old, we didn't really have to strap her in, that like I could just hold her. So that's what we did for the second flight. I just held her on my lap for takeoff and landing, and she liked that a lot better, particularly because then we could kind of hold her and she could look out the window. She did pretty good. She had a bit of ear pressure, but that didn't last very long. So I would say she was a model toddler on the flight. Sarah wants to know, how much spontaneity do you leave room for when you go to Oahu? It's hard not to pack our days full with so much to do and eat. For sure, Sarah. We generally don't really plan our days out ahead as much as we plan out here's a list of the things we want to do and here's a list of the things that we want to eat, and then the night before, we kind of go and say, okay, of those things that are on our list, what do we want to try to put together for the next day, which then leaves some room for spontaneity. But it also means some things on our list don't get done, or some of the things on our list don't get eaten. But that's just how it is, because sometimes, like we said, we're gonna eat at the malasada truck instead of going to Coco Head, or we're gonna eat the curry laksa at Ala Moana instead of something else we had planned because something we saw when we got there. So we definitely leave room for that. Jack asked, what was the weather like? Super hot this time of year. If you get a day that's windy, and it was fairly breezy most of the days we were there, the breeze kept the heat down. I mean, it was temperature-wise, it was warm, right? Like 85 degrees Fahrenheit as the high in the daytime, but 15 or 20 mile per hour winds, which kind of keeps it cool. Although when we did like Diamond Head or the Lighthouse hike, when we're in certain areas where there's no wind, then it's really it's really pretty hot. Eric says, I'm going to Hawaii for the first time to celebrate our 25th anniversary. Your videos have been a big help. Do you think Hawaii will break 70% for vaccinations, freeing everything by August, right? So if you're following the news, Hawaii says that when they reach like 60%, that they'll allow vaccinated travelers to skip quarantine, and then when they reach 70%, they're going to get rid of all the COVID restrictions. It's really hard to say what particular date they're going to make that by, because I think they're at like there's a certain point where like everybody who's got it wants to get it, and then they're at this like point of like diminishing sort of things. And then if you go and say 70% of the population, which also includes kids that can't get the vaccine, like there's a lot to get to 70%. Although like California, statistics-wise, California is at 70% of the people eligible to get vaccinations have gotten at least one shot. But if you include all the kids in, then that brings the numbers way down. I'd keep my fingers crossed, but honestly, we booked this trip in January for June, thinking that, they'll have the vaccine passports ready by then, and they sort of didn't. So, I would plan to have some level of restrictions when you go, and if they don't, then woohoo for you. Caroline says they just booked San Diego to Oahu, $172 round trip. Good deal, Caroline. Was that on Hawaiian or Southwest? What airline did you get that on? Ken asks, what is appropriate tip for housekeeping at a hotel? I think it depends what kind of hotel you're at. It depends what your room rate is. I would say anywhere between $2 and $20 a night, depending upon big spender you are, what hotel you're at, how messy you've left the room. If I'm at really cheap hotels and I haven't done anything with the room, I leave $2. If I'm at some place and maybe it's the last day and we really destroyed the room, then I might leave $20 on our last day of checkout, because it's more work for the person who's cleaning it up when you're checking out than per day. But I will tell you, at least me personally, I'm one of those people that leaves a daily tip for the housekeepers, because every day the housekeepers rotate, and so I'll leave a few bucks every day just right on the edge of the bed. That way the housekeepers know it's for them. Jordan wants to know if the homeless are dangerous to visitors in well-traveled tourist areas. It just depends what you mean by dangerous. Pickpockets and things like that. Like, watch your stuff. I don't think they're like particularly like aggro as maybe they are in San Francisco. But there have been more like petty pickpocketing in Hawaii than there used to be. Okay. Points Traveler asks, what's my favorite Hawaii shave ice spot? And I should have the answer for that. And I will say, like, at least close to Honolulu, we really liked Waiola shaved ice. There was another one that we tried this time, and I don't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but if you search for Obama's favorite shave ice on Oahu, and that'll be the spot. It's in Hawaii Kai. It's next to Tommy's Burgers. It's in the same plaza as the Leonard's Malasada truck. I think it was called maybe Coconuts. We'll call it that. So that was my favorite one that we had on this trip. Weezer Eric wants to know if I recommend any photography tours. I don't. I've never been on a photography tour. Darian asked, do you have any recommendations on beaches in Oahu? Well, if you're staying in Waikiki, the beaches there are great because they're in front of your hotel. I like the beaches in Ko'olina. I like the man-made beaches. Hanauma Bay. I have a hard time pronouncing that one. It's near the Coco Head crater. Is famous for snorkeling. That's a cool beach and a great snorkel spot. You do have to pay and make a reservation to go there. And then if you like the east side of the island, there's like a couple good ones. This is where like when Chris, you do the live stream, you should remember this stuff. Here, we're gonna do this. We're gonna answer this question with this. Okay, we're going to answer this with Google Earth. And we're going to go ahead and zoom in to Oahu. And so beaches really depend on what you like. But, you know, most of the tourist stuff is down here in Waikiki. A lot of people who like kind of remote-ish beaches with not many people, white sand, not big waves, like the beaches here on Kailua on this side of the island. The North Shore, if we go up this way, is also famous for its beaches for surfing. So if you just like to look at beaches, like all these beaches near like Haleiwa, there's like the Bonsai Pipeline over here, Sunset Beach, though these beaches are probably not for like the amateur people. And if you're looking for, down here on the south part of the island, a beach that I just like to go watch what's going on and not go in the water, but watch what's going on. Next, this is the Coco Head crater that I talked about, the hike that we almost did but didn't because we stopped to have Portuguese donuts, is this Sandy Beach Park. This beach is famous for its shore break. This is the where like epic body surfers go. People also call it like breakneck beach because you can break your neck on it. But if you want to see some really cool body surfers, then check out Sandy Beach Park. All right, those are some of my favorite beach spots. Tree says, instead of my wimpy, you know, tropical kombucha, I should do hard kombucha. I'm not really big into alcoholic drinks, so I prefer the non-alcoholic taste, honestly. Rhonda asks, how am I today? I am well, Rhonda. Thank you for asking. How are you today, Rhonda? And let's hit the road, Dax. Let's hit the road, Jack says, when there are trolls, people say, help me, Rhonda, help me, Rhonda. Trent asks if Liliha Bakery was busy. So we ate at the one in Ala Moana at the Macy's, not the original one, and it was not busy. We were there a couple times. We went there once to pick up baked goods. We went there a second time to eat dinner and get more baked goods. Both times were for dinner, like around 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. Neither time was it busy. I would say at Liliha Bakery, only 10 or 20% of the tables were taken. So we just walked right in and had a seat. So if you're looking for a place to eat without waiting, Liliha Bakery at Macy's, good spot. Also, the food court at Ala Moana, another great spot to eat without waiting. Jake asks, what's my favorite Hawaiian shirt brand? Any of the shirts that are at Costco. I just say that because they're the cheapest. Rain Spooner ones are cool too, but they're more expensive than I want to pay. Eat Van City says, why Oahu over Kauai? Oh, let me name the ways. For foodies, we like Oahu better because the food in Oahu is so much better. There's an ABC store in every corner in Waikiki. Going with a toddler, it's much easier to just like buy anything that our 18-month-old needs in Oahu. Kauai, you know, there's less eating options. There's not ABC stores. It's not convenient to get to stores to get necessities. So those were 3 of the ways for this trip. Keokidoki says, what's your favorite plate lunch spot? Zippy's is our favorite plate lunch spot. Seismo asks if that's a volcano. Coco Head is a former volcano that has this crater here. All right, and Rhonda was reminding people to like this video if you haven't, and Troy said he smashed the like button so hard I might have broke it for everybody else. I hope not, Troy, but if you haven't liked this video, definitely give it the thumbs up. There's 185 folks on, 62 likes, so I would love to see that like count go up for people who haven't liked it yet. Really helps me out, lets YouTube know you enjoy the video to share it with more people. Jessica wants to know if we're planning any trips to the Big Island. I've not seen any videos from you from Big Island. We have not been to Big Island yet. Well, I haven't. OC Girl has. She grew up in Hawaii and did some school field trips to the Big Island. But I've not been there. We would like to go to the Big Island. It's just we have not made it there yet. Charles asked if the Polynesian Cultural is a one-time experience or should you go every visit to the island. I have been twice. I went once with OC Girl and then once with my mom when we went together. I could probably go for a third time back. I feel like it's probably one of those like every 5-year visits or something like that. Maybe not like every time. Maybe not like, like Disneyland. You might go like, I want to go to Disneyland every time. All right. And we have a fellow explorer in from Thailand. Good morning. Good morning and welcome from Thailand. Allison wants me to tell her about malasadas. Malasadas are so delicious. Malasadas are Portuguese donuts that are originally from the Azores, these islands off the coast of Portugal, and they're basically like fried dough. And in Portugal, they're fried dough, and you almost can't find them anywhere in Portugal because people just make them at home, or they make them prior to like religious holidays when they fast. So they want to eat their malasadas. They want to eat their fried dough. But in Hawaii, like malasadas are a thing. You can get them at a ton of bakeries. You can get them at Zippy's. But the best thing about malasadas is they're hot. Like if you ever go to Krispy Kreme and the hot light's on, you're like, oh, hot donuts, hot malasada. So you got to like eat them right as you order them because, by the next day, it's a donut. It's a cold donut by the next day. But when they're hot and they're fresh, and all good malasadas are served hot and fresh. If you get them from Leonard's, they're served fresh fried. Eat them right there. There you go. Everything you want to know about malasadas. Eric says, we'll be in Maui for 4 days. Is a full day doing Road to Hana really all that? I've seen so much on it, but it also means we'd give up a full day not being able to do other things. Eric, I have never done the complete Road to Hana. Why? My mom and I started the Road to Hana. We did it for... we went and saw some of the waterfalls at the beginning, and we drove for a little while, and then we just really got sick from all the turns, honestly. And I've heard that from a number of travelers, that same thing. They're like, I did it, I got sick, it wasn't worth it. For us, it was neat to start it and go to the first waterfall hike, and then turn back to be like, I've seen the Road to Hana, I know what it looks like. If I did it again, I would like to, now that the hotel in Hana is now a Hyatt, I think it would be neat to stay at that hotel, and so you do it as a drive. You stay at a hotel, and then you can drive out the other day. But honestly, I think doing that drive both ways the same day would just be sickening to my stomach. Pogo asked if we ate at Rainbow Drive-In. We did eat at Rainbow Drive-In. It is not our favorite plate lunch. It's not our favorite plate lunch because it's just I would describe it as a classic place that you have to eat, but I feel like there are just other places that have better meat and better ingredients. Though the Rainbow Drive-In is one of those as I said, it's classic. It's classic Oahu of being there since the 1960s or something like that. Rhonda asks if we've been to the Paradise Cove Luau. We have not been to the Paradise Cove Luau. Andy wants to know if I would consider Hawaii the #1 location for vacation in the USA. Andy, if you're looking for a beach vacation, I would consider Hawaii the #1 beach vacation in the USA. I think as destinations go, I think Las Vegas is actually the #1 destination in the USA by raw number of visitors that Las Vegas gets. But I like Hawaii as a destination. And there have been some people asking Oahu or Maui and why. I've also seen what is OC Girl's favorite island. OC Girl's favorite island is Oahu. We were considering Maui or Oahu on this trip, and we'd originally booked the Andaz in Maui and then switched to Oahu for the Hyatt Regency in Waikiki, in particular because there's more to eat and the hotel was cheaper. Like the Andaz in Maui is my favorite hotel anywhere in the world. I love the beach at the Andaz. I love the full service beach chairs, umbrellas, anything you want for the beach. Their breakfast buffet at the Andaz Maui is out of this world. The room's really good. The hotel's just cool. But Maui is just kind of sleepy. You know, like it's great if you just want to spend all day on the beach, relaxing at the resort. If you like to, you know, go shopping and she sees shops and see a little bit of urbanism at the same time as seeing beachism, then that's not Maui, right? It's another one too where for us with a toddler, right, it's a long drive from Wailea and Maui to like a Target or something like that, where in Oahu it's not. You're never far from a Target or a McDonald's or all of the conveniences of modern life are in Oahu, where they're not always nearby in Maui or Kauai. Jake asked if the traveling princess tried shave ice. She did try it. I think it was too cold for her, so she did not enjoy it per se. Though we did have some shave ice actually just yesterday when we were in Rancho Palos Verdes for Father's Day. We stopped at a Hawaiian restaurant called Big Island Eats or something like that also has shave ice. We got the shave ice there, and she was taking a liking to the coconut ice cream, but I think the ice was just too cold. B Knapp comments about the road to Hana. It says the south end past Hana is so treacherous. I do not recommend when you get to Hana turn around. Thank you for that tip, B Knapp. Susie recommends doing the road to Hana on a guided tour, not driving yourself. I could see that, Susie. And the Basic Family Channel says, I've seen the road. It looks windy and long. It's windy and long and is one lane. The bridges are one lane. It's narrow. Kathy says she'll pass. I think those are good tips. Jordan asks if there's any all-inclusive luau's that you recommend. I don't know about all-inclusive, but the one I hear that the most people really like is Germain's luau. So that would be my recommendation on luau's. Faith says the best plate lunch is Kahai Kitchen. Thank you for that tip, Faith. And Lunch Up says the burgers at Rainbow Drive-In are better than the plate lunches. Thank you for that tip. My favorite burger in Hawaii is at Teddy's Burgers. And if you've seen my video on the best cheap eats in Waikiki, you'll have seen Teddy's Burgers in there. But here's Teddy's Burgers, and I should have a picture of burger, right? But I have a picture of the thing. But Teddy's Burgers, one of the things I really like about Teddy's Burgers is they have pineapple. You can get grilled pineapple in the burger. So I like my burgers at Teddy's with grilled pineapple, with peanut butter and Cajun seasoning. You can't get those toppings many other places, but you can get them there in Hawaii. They got a whole bunch of locations in Oahu and at least one or two in Maui. If you go to Kauai, my favorite spot for burgers in Kauai is Bubba's. Ramel says, hi Chris, my name is Ramel Walker. I live in New York City, and I made a video about how to ride the New York City subway. Thank you, Ramel. I hope you enjoyed that video. Amanda says, I'm going to Boston. What's your favorite thing to do? To eat lobster rolls and to eat cannolis. The cannolis in Boston are the best cannolis I've had anywhere. Let's Hit the Road Jack asks if I see Tangaroa, father of all gods and goddesses, sometimes he appears before me as a mighty tree. I feel like at the Polynesian Cultural Center, I've heard them refer to Tangaroa. And honestly, Bridget says the road to Hana comments make her so sad because we loved it, we drove it, never got sick. It's well worth it. Bridget, you must have a lot of Dramamine or good stomach or good constitution. I guess the rest of us here are weaklings. Rhonda says Germain's is good, but I like Paradise Cove better. So there's a second opinion on best luau. Pogo says, we had Teddy's because of you. Definitely a yummy burger. I'm glad to hear that, Pogo Joel. And Points Traveler says if you're looking for Mai Tai, the best Mai Tai is at Monkey Pod on Maui. Thank you for that tip, which is one great part about staying in Wailea at the Ondas because it's right near that Monkey Pod. Scully says don't come to Hawaii right now. Car rentals are out of this world if you can get a rental. Ours was $400 for 6 days, so it wasn't awful. I would say I would not pay $2,000 for 6 days, and the rental car companies are adding more inventory every day. So I would just say, before you plan a trip to Hawaii, make sure you can get a rental car that isn't ridiculously expensive. I know it's usually a thing that people think of afterwards. Like they think, okay, well now I've got the trip booked, I've got my flights booked, I've got my hotel booked, now let me get my rental car. No. For Hawaii, you should book the rental car first. And because rental cars, like you put no skin in the game, they're generally refundable, cancelable. So book the rental. Like if you're even making a speculative trip, book the rental car. Rhonda wants to know if I will be in Vegas this week for the opening of Resorts World. I will not be in Vegas for the opening of Resorts World. Not sure when we'll be in Vegas next, but whenever we do go to Vegas next, Resorts World will likely be our first stop. And Jack says, that makes sense. Tongaroa, that's it. That's where I heard it from the Tiki Room. Very good. At the Tiki Room. The Hyatt Regency in Waikiki, we felt like the elevator looked like the Tiki Room. It was like this really like woody thing that had like a wooden chandelier in the elevator. You stay at the Hyatt Regency and you look in that thing, you will you will know what I mean. Pogo says there's a lot of people still driving U-Hauls. Yeah, there have been a lot of news stories about tourists renting U-Hauls instead of rental cars because the U-Hauls are cheaper. The Basic Family Channel says, can't you just take the bus? Sure, you can take the bus. If you want to be holden to the bus schedule and go where the bus goes, the bus doesn't go everywhere. If you want to visit some of the places off the beaten path that I talked about, the Byodo Inn, or go wherever you want to go, then you don't want to be taking the bus. If you're like us and you've got a 18-month toddler that you're toting around, you don't want to be taking a bus with a stroller. LeChubbs asks if I have a favorite drive on Oahu. Scully's favorite drive is H3. I think my favorite drive is the Pali Highway. I like the Pali Highway up to the Pali Lookout. I also just generally like as a drive, going out of like Honolulu up to the North Shore by the Dole Plantation. But when I get to the North Shore, then just taking the coast all the way here. This is better when you can see this picture, right? Here, 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 and here. Okay, zoom out, zoom out. Right. So if I would say like my favorite scenic drive is just out of the Honolulu area here. You drive up this way to the North Shore to Haleiwa Town, and then you can like just drive the whole coast kind of like this. I think this whole northeastern part is like super beautiful. The road runs along the coast a lot, so you can see the beaches. So that'd be my suggestion to you. If you want to get to a part of the island that like most tourists don't go to, you can also drive over here to Makaha Beach. That's kind of a cool drive just to see really a non-touristy part of Oahu. Like it's even people say, oh, this eastern part's not very touristy, but let me tell you, this part is even less touristy. You cannot drive all the way around. The road kind of ends right up here, and then it restarts over here. So there we go. And then if you drive over here to the southeast corner, that's where the thumbnail picture that I took was basically right here from this tip, where there's this lighthouse looking back on this island. And if you weren't here for that thumbnail picture, oh, it's gone now. I don't have it anymore. All right. The magic of live video. All right. Tree asks, Chris, you recommended Germain's. Have you been? I have not been personally to Germain's Luau. It's just one that I've heard a lot of people recommend. I've also heard Paradise Cove recommended a lot too. Pogo Joel says the Ritz-Carlton residence was amazing. It had a washer and dryer in the room. Came in super clutch. Thank you for that report on the Ritz-Carlton residences. And Rhonda's reminding people, if you haven't had a chance, like this video. Thank you. There were 60 earlier. There's now 108. So if you've liked it, I appreciate it very much. If you're new here, definitely subscribe. And if you're ever wondering, hey, when does Chris do these live streams? Well, if you're a member of my email news list, then you got a notification email about this. Every time I do a live stream, I send out an email to my update mailing list. So if you want to get in on that so you know when I do these live streams, because the YouTube notifications are only so good, which means they're not that great. They're not going to tell you like a day or two ahead of time, but my email notifications will. You can sign up for it right there. And Faith J points out about the bus. Another reason why it's good to have a rental car is the bus to the North Shore will take 2+ hours. That's a long time. So, yeah, that's another reason not to take the bus everywhere. Points Traveler asked about the Ondas at Maui if it has a club lounge. It does not have a lounge, but if you're a globalist, you do get their breakfast buffet, which is super good. Sarah wants to know if the Hyatt Regency has a complimentary breakfast, or is it all you can eat for a price? So as Hyatt Globalist, which is Hyatt's top-tier loyalty status, then we got free breakfast in the restaurant because the lounge was closed. The breakfast restaurant is a buffet. It's $29 for adults, like $10 for kids, all you can eat. Lizzie asks, why is Vegas so popular with Hawaiians? That's a great question. Hawaiians love to go to Vegas. They love to go to Vegas so much they call it the ninth island. And I asked this question to some of our relatives that live in Hawaii that we met up with on this trip, and they said, because Vegas has all the things that Hawaii doesn't. You know, I mean, Oahu has a big city, but it doesn't have shows and entertainment and lights and glitz and glamour. And so his remark was that that's why people in Hawaii really like Vegas. Okay. Brian wants to know if you can rent a horse and be on horseback. You know, there are ranches on the East Coast that do rent horses. Not that you could probably take out from the ranch, but you can rent one. Pogo says the beaches in the North Shore felt so chill and had less people. Sunset Beach was amazing. Thank you for that report. Faith's favorite beach is Turtle Bay, 3 miles of beach with maybe 100 people. Yeah, I don't know, like last time I checked, the Turtle Bay Resort itself wasn't open yet, but that's one I would like to stay at on our list. Rhonda asked if the pineapple plantation place is still there. I think that's the Dole plantation that you mean. The Dole plantation is absolutely still there. And Jimmy says you can hike that northwest corner for some great views. Thanks for that tip. Grant says, Chris, you're the man. Thanks for the extra live stream. My pleasure. Grant, thank you for the love. And Robert says the reason why people from Hawaii love to gamble is that Asians love to gamble. That's why they like to go to Vegas. BNAP asks if I've stayed at other Ondas properties. So you've seen my Maui one, my San Diego one. If you want to check out another really cool one, check out the Ondas Tokyo. I have a review on that one. Those are the 3 Ondases that we've stayed at. And Rhonda has a nail appointment. She has to go. Thanks, Rhonda. I will see you tomorrow. And, you know, time flies when we're having fun. It is 4:30 already. So it's going to be time.
Yes, it's the time you've been waiting for. It's time for the giveaway.
Okay, fellow explorers, it is time for the giveaway. It's going to be a really interesting giveaway question. It's not something I said. This will take a little bit of inside knowledge for you. This green straw right here. Where is this green straw from? If you can answer this question of where is this green straw from, you will win a Yellow Productions Crew shirt shipped to you anywhere in the world. Strange question about where is this green straw from, because the place that it's from is famous for giving out green straws. Actually, they only give out green straws for their drinks. It is a U.S. national chain, and they sell hamburgers. a national chain that sells burgers and give you green straws. Where is this straw from? While you are giving your answers to win a Yellow Productions Crew shirt, I'll let you know that if you don't have a Yellow Productions Crew shirt and you would like one, you can pick one up in my Etsy shop. You will find a link in the description below to that. We got Yellow Productions Crew shirts. We've got the embroidered yellow shirts. So I'm seeing some answers in the chat about where the straw is from. Michael said Starbucks. You know, they have green straws, but they don't sell burgers, so that's not where it's from. Kathy says In-N-Out Burger, their straws are white and green, so it's not from there. Joanne thinks Whole Foods. Not Whole Foods. We're hearing Zippy's.
And now we have a winner chicken dinner.
All right, we have a winner right here. Caroline Boykins is the winner. Caroline, you guessed it correctly. This straw is indeed from Shake Shack. They always give out green straws to go with the printed green logo, the Shake Shack. So, Caroline, congratulations. Send me an email. You'll find the email in my description of this video, chris@yellow-productions.com. Let me know where you want me to send you your Yellow Productions Crew shirt and what size you want it to be. Well, everybody, thank you so much for joining me today for this impromptu bonus live stream about Hawaii Q&A. I hope for those of you that are going to Hawaii, enjoy your trips there. And for those of you who want more live streams, well, the next live stream is tomorrow, Tuesday, 4:45 p.m. Talking all about Vegas, the 9th island. I'll be joined with special guest Say Hi to Matthew. We'll be talking all about Matthew's favorite food in Vegas, along with my favorite food in Vegas. And if you've seen the food video that I did with Bill and Lisa, this will be different because we're talking to Matthew and we'll be talking about a whole different set of food. It won't be just a repeat of the same things because I don't like to do repeats. And by the way, I forgot to show off Topher's new lei, but Topher picked up this lei from Don Quixote while he was in Hawaii. So he's been special here with his lei. Well, fellow explorers, as usual, I won't say goodbye because I'll see you all in the next video.